From the moment we're born, society kind of quietly hands us a script. And for men, that script often has one major theme: be strong, be the provider, and definitely don't complain. But what if that script is missing some of the most important lines? Well, today, we're diving into the unspoken side of that story, the simple, powerful words that men are secretly longing to hear, but almost never do.
So that brings us right to the big question we're tackling. What are those words? What do men, who are so often taught to just be self-reliant and tough it out, really truly need to hear from the people they care about? Let's get into it.
All right, so where does all this even start? Well, the source material points to this idea it calls benchwara, which pretty much means a partition or a division. Just picture society drawing a big line right down the middle, creating two totally separate paths, one for men, one for women, and setting up a whole lifetime of really rigid expectations right from day one.
So what does this Bantwara actually look like in the real world? It's society basically creating these two different tracks. For girls, one path is all laid out. For boys, it's a completely different one. And we're not just talking about what job you should have. Nope. This split defines everything. How you're supposed to feel, what success is supposed to look like, and what your whole role in the world is. It's this fundamental division that really shapes everything that comes after.
And this slide, wow, it just lays out the inner conflict this whole thing creates perfectly. On the left, you've got the public expectation, the strong provider, the guy who always wins. But on the right, that's the private reality that so many men are living. Feeling lost, needing support, and just desperately hoping that someone, anyone, will just see how hard they're trying. That big gap you see right in the middle, that's where this deep emotional need really starts to grow.
So how does this whole societal script play out in daily life? Well, it becomes this immense, incredible weight. And we're not just talking about a few small expectations here and there. We're talking about a constant, crushing pressure that starts when they're young. And a lot of the time, it's enforced with some seriously harsh criticism. And that criticism often sounds exactly like this. The source points to a really common Hindi phrase, "Tum to nikam mein ho," which translates to this absolutely devastating sentence, "You are useless." Can you imagine hearing that as a kid? It's a message that basically says your inherent worth is zero, and you have to spend the rest of your life proving you're not. That is an incredibly heavy burden to carry into adulthood.
The source uses this fantastic metaphor, and it's just perfect. It says that from the moment they're born, the pressure to compete and to win just clings to them like a magnet. It's totally inescapable. They have to build a career, they have to earn money, and they just have to keep running, a lot of times without even a clear finish line in sight.
So the crucial thing to get here is that these burdens are just relentless. The pressure to build that career, to earn, to be constantly on the go. They're pushed to be responsible, but at the same time, they're judged for every little mistake. The source uses this perfect Hindi phrase for the feeling, ulaj jate hain, which means to get all tangled up. And just looking at this, you can almost feel that sense of being completely tangled and confused by it all.
Okay, so we've laid out the problem pretty clearly. Now let's switch gears and talk about the solution. And you know what? It's not some big, complex, grand gesture. It really just boils down to a few simple, powerful words, the affirmations that men are quietly, desperately craving to hear.
And the answer is so much simpler than you might think. It really comes down to words just like these. Words that shift the focus from what a man does to who he is. "I'm so proud of you" isn't about one specific win. It's about seeing the effort. "You've made my life beautiful" validates his presence, not just his paycheck. See, each one of these confirms his value as a person. And that last one, "you can do it," well, that one might just be the most powerful of them all. And we'll see why in just a second.
And here's a pretty deep irony that the source points out. Men are often encouraged to be manfaat, which is a Hindi term for being really outspoken or blunt. They're kind of expected to give feedback freely, both the good and the bad. But as you can see here, that feedback often turns into a one-way street. They're giving it out, but they rarely get that same positive validation back. So why? Why are these simple little phrases so incredibly transformative? It's not just about feeling good for a moment. It's about tapping into a deep psychological trigger that can genuinely, literally change outcomes. Remember that last phrase we talked about? In Hindi, "Tum kar sakte ho." You can do it. This isn't just some simple encouragement. The source describes it as a direct transfer of belief. When a man who feels lost and tangled up hears these words from someone he trusts, it's not just a nice thing to say. It's a spark. It is the catalyst that can reignite a belief in himself that the world has been trying to put out for years.
And this slide shows the unbelievable chain reaction that those simple words can kick off. It all starts with receiving that belief, that positive energy from a partner. That external validation then starts to work its way into the subconscious mind, a part of our brain the source calls incredibly powerful. And once the subconscious accepts this new reality that, hey, success is possible, it starts to direct real-world actions to make it happen. That's how "you can do it" becomes "I did it."
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit because this isn't just about men. This need for validation and for mutual support is literally the foundation of any healthy modern partnership. It's all about creating an environment of real equality.
This brings us to a final, really key concept from the source, Barabarika Darja. This beautiful phrase literally means a status of equality, and it describes a partnership where support, respect, and encouragement aren't just given from one person to another, they're exchanged. It's a relationship where both people are fully committed to lifting each other up.
And here it is, the crucial takeaway. Equality isn't something you just demand or receive, it's something you build together. To get that status of equality, you have to be willing to give it. If we expect support, we absolutely have to offer it. It's a two-way street, and it's essential for any relationship to truly thrive.
So, as we wrap things up, let's make this personal. I want you to think about the people in your life, your partner, your brother, your dad, your friend. Who among them is running that relentless race? And who might just need to hear from you that you believe in them and that they can do it?